What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Hoopers Lounge podcast with myself and Alex. And today we have some breaking NBA news that we want to talk to you guys about this week, as well as our predictions for awards such as the MVP, Coach of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and so much more. Yeah, NBA is right around the corner, and we are getting more news by the day, injuries, trades, rumors, all that good stuff. So we're going to start breaking down some of it. And I think the biggest piece of news we should start with is that Fred VanVleet tore his ACL in the past couple of days. One of the most important pieces to the Rockets' run last year, and someone who they were very excited to have back and try and make a push for the championship this year. So, Alex, the question's really simple. How do you think this injury hurts the Rockets' chances in 2025?
Oh, it definitely hurts the Rockets' chances because Fred VanVleet was the veteran guard that kind of stabilized the young roster last year. He was that veteran leader that led the Rockets to the 2 seed. And yes, they have Kevin Durant now, but they still need that alpha guard. They still need that. They still need someone that can carry the load when Kevin Durant, is tired or has an off night or whatever. Jalen Green was that other complimentary scorer, and now he's gone. So the Rockets, aside from KD, they don't really have a primary scorer on their team anymore. One of their young guards, whether that be Amen Thompson or last year's number 3 overall pick, Reed Shepard, needs to step up and help carry the offensive load because Van Vliet being out for the year is going to hurt the Rockets' offense severely. The offense of the Rockets is what cost them their first round playoff series against the Warriors. So this is already a big question mark. And the question mark is only made bigger with Van Vliet's expected absence. Very unfortunate news for the Rockets.
Yeah, I agree. Everything you said. One piece of the rumor news, I saw multiple Houston fan pages talking about going to trade for Drew Holiday, who's currently in Portland, who probably will not be playing in Portland the entire season. If they are bad again, I expect him to be an option for many contending teams at the deadline, and I think Houston could be in line to try and trade for him very, very soon because Reed Shepard, like you said, he's very good, but he's unproven. And Amen Thompson, is he able to take on that lead guard role and score 15 to 20 points a game like Fred VanVleet was doing consistently last year? Only time will tell. But devastating injury for the Rockets, who are a really just promising team this year heading into the season. And we wish the best for VanVleet. Hopefully he comes back as good as ever. Next piece of news we want to touch on is the Tyler Hero injury, which I'll let Alex explain a little bit about that right now.
Yeah, it was reported by ESPN that Tyler Hero is undergoing surgery and is expected to miss the first part of the season. This isn't a season-ending injury, but still a big loss for the Miami Heat. Tyler Hero, much not like Fred VanVleet, Tyler Hero was the offensive focal point for the Heat last year. The offense was centered around Hero and his scoring abilities. There isn't another primary scorer, a proven primary scorer on Miami that can take that role. Bam Adebayo made multiple All-Star games, but he's never been the focal point of the Heat offense. So I really don't know what Miami can do from here. I don't know if they have anyone on their roster capable of replicating what Hero brought game in and game out. I don't know if they have a 20 points per game score on the roster, and that is really concerning for the Heat. They have no offensive weaponry. They don't have a player that can scare an opposing team's defense like Tyler Hero could.
Yeah, again, I agree on this one as well. One player who you didn't mention, though, that I think will help Miami a lot in the early part of the season, who I mentioned in one of our previous episodes this year, was Norman Powell. I think his role is going to be increased through the first couple of months of the season. I don't think he can do everything that Tyler Hero can, but from a scoring perspective, he is as good as it gets. Ball handling and playmaking, he's a little bit worse than Hero, so I expect them to take a dip in that perspective. But I think if they need buckets in the clutch, I think Norman Powell might take up that role until Hero comes back. And once again, injuries stink. We hope these guys are back as soon as possible. Yeah.
That Powell signing is looking better, is looking increasingly better since that Hero injury. Honestly, I forgot about Norman Powell, but his role in the Heat will definitely be increased with the Hero injury. He'll probably see more on-ball action. Now, is Powell capable of handling on-ball action, capable of facilitating and running the offense? I don't know. But while Kawhi Leonard was out to begin last year, Powell was a 20 points per game scorer and a fringe all-star. So if he can play at that level, that might help the Heat tread water until they get Hero back.
Completely agree. And finally, our last piece of news we wanted to talk about is the most controversial rookie of the 2025 season, and that has been Ace Bailey, who cut ties with a manager earlier in the week. It was reported that their relationship was not good and that it needed to end. So I'm really not sure what this means. I haven't looked much into this story. All I know is that Ace Bailey kind of made his bed in the draft combine, and now he has to lie in it. And I think this is just part of that continuing nonsense.
Well, it wasn't as much Bailey as it was his manager that he let go. First of all, I just want to say I think this is a great move for Ace Bailey in his career. It was a much needed move because what his manager did during the draft process was reject workouts by teams that had top 3, top 4 picks. His manager rejected the Sixers, rejected the Hornets because he was hoping that Ace Bailey would fall to the Brooklyn Nets, a team that doesn't have an offensive focal point, and that Bailey could step in and immediately be the number one option. Now, for a teenager forcing their way onto an NBA team, it's not the best look for that teenager. And while it might not be completely his fault, it's the people surrounding him. It's something that definitely did play a role into his draft slide, his mini draft slide. He only fell to 5, but still, he was a projected top 3 pick. That was still surprising for everybody watching the draft. So, in terms of speaking about Bailey, I think this is great for his career. It allows him to focus on basketball rather than the situation around him, rather than the amount of money he makes, rather than the sponsorships and endorsements he could land. He gets to focus on basketball because if he is good at that, then everything else will fall into place.
Yeah, I think focusing on basketball is what he needed to do from the start, and I blame the other people around him, other than this manager in particular, for not getting him there sooner. And I think as a professional athlete, as someone who is coming into the draft with such expectations, I just think that's part of the responsibility has to fall on yourself to put yourself in the best position possible to get drafted as high as you can, to make as much money as you can, and to perform to the best of your ability. And I put some of that blame on Ace Bailey for sure.
Yeah, and a fun fact, Ace Bailey's now former agent, Omar Cooper, is actually the father and former agent of Sharif Cooper, who was an elite level basketball talent in his high school and college days and hasn't made much noise in the NBA. And a lot of that, some of that blame can be placed once again on his agent for not presenting him the opportunities that he needed to succeed. So Omar has not had the greatest track record in managing the career of NBA players, including his son. So, as I've said before, and I'll reiterate, very good move for Ace Bailey to hopefully find someone that'll allow him to focus on basketball.
Yeah, a necessary move for sure. And the last thing I want to touch on real quick before we get into our awards predictions is that nostalgic jerseys are back. The Sixers and the Timberwolves both announced throwback uniforms, and they are sweet. Can't wait to see those. Hopefully they come with a custom court. Yeah, I hope more teams do this because the jerseys from back in the day were way better.
Hey, shout out to Timberwolves specifically because those Kevin Garnett era jerseys are so tough.
Yeah,
I might have to get me a jersey of my own. They are so sick.
Yeah, if I was a fan, I would definitely look into an Anthony Edwards throwback jersey. Whew, that'd be sweet. That would be sweet.
Absolutely. Let's get into our awards predictions now. The NBA tip-off being less than a month away, it's time for basketball fans all across the country to start making their predictions for standings, for awards, for NBA championships. So we're going to start off our run of predictions episodes by predicting the major NBA awards this season. This includes the MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, Most Improved, as well as some coaching awards such as, the Coach of the Year, the Sixth Man of the Year, and then last but not least, the Clutch Player of the Year. So, Max, if you'd like to get us started, you can have your pick at the awards. Where would you like to begin?
All right, so I want to save some of the bigger awards for last, and we're going to start with, honestly, one of my favorite awards, and that is the Most Improved Player Award. This is an award that I think sometimes can be misjudged by the voters. I think it should go to the player who was on nobody's radar last year that suddenly becomes a fringe all-star. The one year that comes to mind is when Ja Morant won Most Improved Player. That made zero sense to me because he was already amazing and then he just became more amazing. So I don't really understand why he won that a couple years ago. But nonetheless, my pick for Most Improved Player for the 2025 season is Andrew Nemhard. And let me tell you why.
I like that pick.
I think that what we saw in the finals was just a sneak peek of how good this kid really is. And I think with the Tyrese Halliburton injury, his role is going to be increased to a point where the entire league now has to understand how truly good this kid was. He was amazing in college at Florida before he transferred to Gonzaga, which is where most people know him from. Just an elite two-way guard in the NBA that for a couple games in the finals was giving the Thunder 20, 25 points easily. And he was having to guard Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on the other end. I think what he does on both ends is going to come into play for voting. His offense should take a step. His shooting should take a step. I expect him to be kind of like that Norman Powell we talked about earlier, that fringe all-star that is playing good enough to earn a spot on the team, but I don't know if he'll get enough votes to make it. But I like Andrew Nembhard to win Most Improved Player this season.
I like that pick a lot. Nemhard's role is definitely going to increase with the unfortunate injury of Halliburton. And for my pick, I'm going to kind of stick with the same theme. A player that should have an increased role because of an unfortunate injury. In fact, a player that we were just talking about earlier this episode. Fred VanVleet, while his injury is very unfortunate for the Rockets, they have a lot of young guards that could really step up and take that role as the lead guard on the team. And I believe that Amen Thompson will flourish in that role and win Most Improved Player. Thompson has all the physical tools you could ask for. He is an absolute freak athlete. Arguably, in a league full of freak athletes, he might be the freakiest athlete, which is saying a lot. Thompson is a jumbo-sized point guard. He's 6'6", can facilitate, can defend at an elite level. The one knock on his game in the first 2-3 years of his career has been scoring. But now with VanVleet out, that role of a scoring guard is open. And somebody on the Rockets is going to need to take it if they want to succeed. And I think Thompson is ready to take it and run with it and not look back with it.
Yeah, I love that pick. He was, of the couple guys I was considering, he was definitely up there. And I'll get to Amen Thompson a little later. A little spoiler. I'll get to him later. He's on my list somewhere. But I just think that he, again, like Nembhard, they're going to have to perform for their teams to be where they want to be at the end of the season. And both are very talented and both are good enough to take advantage of these opportunities for sure. All right, Alex, I'll let you pick the next award.
All right, we start off with Most Improved Player. Let's get down to the Sixth Man of the Year award, the best bench player in the NBA. And I have Peyton Pritchard repeating as the Sixth Man of the Year. I don't think that Pritchard's game is going to take any steps back, especially with Tatum being out for the Celtics this year. I think he's only going to get more of scoring opportunities, more opportunities to handle the rock. And Pritchard, when he's been in the floor, he has been capable of some explosive games. He already has a 40-point game on his NBA resume coming off the bench, which is very impressive for a young bench player. Pritchard won the award last year. I don't see his role is only going to increase with the Celtics this year. And I don't see any other bench player that is able to not only match Pritchard's stats, but contribute to a team that should be well within the playoff picture.
Yeah, you and me are on the same page here to an extent. I agree that Peyton Pritchard is going to have an increased role with the injury to Jason Tatum. That's why I believe the Celtics are going to start him this year. I think he's going to be the starting point guard.
Interesting.
With Derek White. And that leads me to my sixth man, Anthony Simons, who I think will come off the bench for Boston. I think that they are going to use Simons in a much more of a shooting, like just shoot first role, scoring role, because the playmaker thing didn't really work out in Portland. I'm not sure if Boston is going to go this route, and I love what you're saying about Pritchard. My only problem with Pritchard is I believe he's going to start, especially early on in the season while they integrate Simons into the system. I think Pritchard, who's been here, he has worked his tail off to go from the end of the bench to like a role player. Then he won Sixth Man of the Year. I think they're going to give him an opportunity to start this year with the departure of Jrue Holiday, which by that standard would eliminate him from the Sixth Man of the Year potential and slide in his backup, Anthony Simons, who I believe will win Sixth Man of the Year. It's a toss-up. Like, whatever one doesn't start, I do think will end up winning Sixth Man of the Year just because of how potent that Boston offense is. But what do you think? Do you think Simons will start over Pritchard or no?
See, I think Pritchard, just as a player, is an ideal spark plug off the bench. I think he is the modern day Lou Williams of sorts. He's a player that he's not going to start the games, but he's going to come in off the bench and he's going to help your offense when it's in a funk. He's going to get you 20 a night. I think that's his role. I think he's found his niche in the NBA. It is going to be either Simons or Pritchard that gets that starting shooting guard position. So, but we're essentially in agreement. The backup Celtics shooting guard will win Sixth Man of the Year. Who will that be? That's what we don't know. But
yeah,
we're in agreement at least somewhat.
And I think you hit the nail on the head saying he's a walking 20 points a game. I think with the Tatum injury, Boston's going to figure out real quick that they might need that 20 points a game earlier in the game than as opposed to Tatum can dominate the first quarter and then you can have Pritchard come in. They don't have that luxury this year, and I think they're going to need some more scoring within the Celtics system, obviously. Not saying Simons can't score like Pritchard, but Pritchard understands the offense, understands that Derek White, who can play point guard, he'll get these guys the ball. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. I think Simons will start. I think Pritchard will start, and I think it's kind of a who's got the hot hand type deal. Very interesting for Sixth Man of the Year, though. Look out for the Boston bench this year. They're going to be good one way or the other.
And it should be interesting because if they are indeed splitting it, if Pritchard starts some games and Simon starts some games, then neither of them are going to be eligible for the award, which means there's going to be a complete crapshoot for the Sixth Man. So it's nearly impossible. This is one of the awards where it's nearly impossible to predict because we just don't know what these NBA teams, how they're viewing their roster, how they're going to shape their starting lineups in the offseason. It's very, very difficult to predict.
Yeah, and what we see on opening night will be completely different from what we see around Christmas, from what we see around the All-Star break, and what we see around the playoffs. I mean, in an 82-game season, so much can change. Guys get hurt. They trade for people. Like, yeah, it's a crapshoot, like you said. But I'm glad we kind of agreed on that one. That was an interesting little mini debate there. All right, next award. Let's go to the newest award that we're debating, and that's the Clutch Player of the Year, which I think was the hardest one for me to pick somebody. Just because this is such a niche award where, like, the criteria to be, like, for this award, your team has to be, one, bad enough to not blow everybody out and be in enough clutch games to begin with. And then your star player has to be good enough to perform in all those clutch games and win points. I think that's extremely difficult to predict what teams are going to not only be in those situations, but then what players will perform well in those situations as well. But I'm going with Luka, who I think in the fourth quarter of games for LA will have the ball in his hands 75% of the time, probably, with LeBron being the other 25%. Luka already has a reputation for being clutch, for being one of the best late game shot makers, late game playmakers, and I expect the Lakers to put the ball in his hands when they are in those situations. But there were so many guys. I was considering Shea. I was considering Ant. I was considering Steph. I was considering Jokic. I was considering like really any guy that could win the MVP. I was considering for this award as well. So I'm gonna go with Luka. Yeah, that's my pick.
Yeah, we were talking about crapshoot awards as the Sixth Man. This Clutch Player of the Year is the biggest crapshoot of them all. Because, as you said, the criteria for this award is so peculiar and so unique. You can't have an elite player on an elite team win the award because they're not going to be in enough close games. The Oklahoma City Thunder set the NBA record for the largest point differential across the season. So that essentially eliminates Shea because Shea isn't going to play in many close games. You also can't look at teams who are probably not going to make the postseason because they're not going to be winning these clutch games. So I think you have to look at the niche group of teams that are in maybe the 3 through 6 seeding range and pick a player from there. And out of that, with that being said, I really just went with Anthony Edwards. I mean, he's shown up in clutch moments before. The Timberwolves are expected to be a playoff team coming off back-to-back Western Conference Finals appearances and just starting to enter his prime in his age 24 year. But this award is really a crapshoot. There's no way to expect who is going to be clutch, who's going to have the opportunities to be clutch. And you just have to see it as the season plays out.
Yeah. Quick question for you, Alex. Well, what do you think the chances are that Jalen Brunson becomes the first ever 2-time Clutch Player of the Year?
I mean, it's a non-zero chance. I'm not going to say it's a high chance, but it's non-zero. Um, I mean, we see voter fatigue in the MVPs. Is there voter fatigue going to play a role in the clutch player of the year voting? Who knows? But it really just comes down to whether the Knicks are in enough close games, and I do think they're in a position to be in that. They're not the best of the best in the Eastern Conference. That's going to go to the Cavaliers, but they are expected to be a playoff team, and not only a playoff team, they're expected to have home court advantage in the first round. They're projected to be a top 4 seed. But Brunson should be enough close games where if he can stand out in these close games, he'll have a case for the award. But I said a lot of ifs throughout this little monologue of mine, so a lot of conditionals on this theoretical Jalen Brunson repeat.
Yeah, I think this like I said was the hardest one to predict, because there's so many players that like one night Luka could go off in the fourth quarter, the next night it could be Brunson, and then how do you determine who was better in the fourth quarter? Like it's so difficult. And then when they play against each other and one outshines the other, like it's going to be interesting. So another award that I would keep a close eye on as the season progresses, and for my sports bettors out there, I would stay away from this one. Yeah,
oh, absolutely.
I would not try and throw a dart into the bullseye
Don't
here.
touch the 6th man of the year. Don't touch the clutch player of the year. You will not win your money back betting on either of those two
Yeah,
awards.
it's hard to bet on any of these awards, but those in particular are very difficult. All right, we've got 3 down, 4 to go. Alex, where would you like to go next?
You know what? Let's go to the bench because we're kind of already on the bench of the 6th man of the year. So let's talk about the coach of the year. Which coach is going to help lead their squad and be named, well, the best coach at the end of the year? Max, I want to hear who you have for that because I feel like I have an interesting name for mine and an interesting reasoning.
Yeah, so I'm not going to say too much about my pick because I'm afraid it might spoil a future pick. But my pick for coach of the year is David Adelman. And most people at home are like, Max, who the hell is that? Who the hell is David Adelman? Well, David Adelman filled in for Michael Malone last year for the Nuggets. And I'm really high on Denver this year. I think they have the best offseason of any team in the NBA. They didn't make the biggest moves, but I think they made the best moves for what they needed and what they had to accomplish to get back to the top. And it helps to pick the coach with the best player in the league. So I'm going with David Adelman. I think he's an unknown coach. We don't know what he's going to do, but I think with this roster and with the expectations heading into the season, I really liked what he did at the end of the year last year. The Nuggets were the closest team to beating the Thunder in the playoffs last year, which I think is a huge confidence booster heading into this season, that Denver could say, hey, look, we took the defending champs to 7. Like, we can beat anyone in this league. I think that's going to help a lot of the young guys on this team, a lot of the new pieces coming in. They're excited to win. I expect the Nuggets to be a top 2 seed in the West this year, barring injuries. And that is sort of the criteria for coach of the year. You have to be on a team with a good record with championship aspirations. And I think Adelman checks all those boxes, and I'll take him to win coach of the year.
See, I like the pick of Adelman, but I disagree with your reasoning. I don't think being a coach on a team that has championship aspirations is necessarily a criteria. And that might sound outrageous, but let's go back and look at the history of coach of the year. I mean, the past 5 winners have been Tom Thibodeau for the Knicks, Monty Williams for the Suns, Mike Brown for the Kings, Mark Daigneault for the Thunder, and Kenny Atkinson for the Cavs. The common theme I see among these 5 coaches is that they blew away expectations. None of these 5 teams were expected to be contenders, but the coaches came in and established and created this contending team over the course of the season. Nobody was picking the Cleveland Cavaliers last year to finish with the 1 seed in the East. Nobody was picking the Oklahoma City 2 years ago to win the number 1 seed in the West. So, looking at the theme, I think the coach of the year goes to the coach that exceeds expectations the most. That maybe they take a non-playoff team to home court advantage or making the playoffs like Mike Brown did with the Kings. Maybe they take a play-in team and turn them to a championship contender, much like Kenny Atkinson and Mark Daigneault with the Cavs and Thunder, respectively. So to stick with that kind of common trend of trying to find that coach that can really exceed expectations, I'm going to go with Jamal Mosley of the Orlando Magic. Now, the Orlando Magic are no slouch of a team, right? They've made the playoffs the last 2 years. And while the issue is they've been first round exits the last 2 years. I think the Orlando Magic will break through and win a playoff series. Not only that, I do think the Orlando Magic will be a top 3 team in the Eastern Conference. Right? I think they will have home court advantage, and and you're nodding your head. These are kind of outlandish, bold predictions. But if they come true, this is what a Coach of the Year resume looks like. A coach that leads his team past to where anybody else thought they could be. And if the Orlando Magic can do that, if they can win a playoff series, if they can claim a top 3 seed in the East, if Paolo can make that superstar leap, if that trade for Desmond Bane pans out, Wagner staying healthy, I think the pieces are there for Mosley to take home the award. I'm not knocking your pick. David Adelman is a great coach, and I do think the bit of narratives are there for him, considering he took over the Nuggets essentially in the playoffs. He does have a narrative working for him a bit. But for the Nuggets to exceed expectations, they're going to have to win 65 games, right? And I don't know if the Nuggets are capable of that while they're pursuing a championship run and focusing on keeping their core healthy throughout the regular season.
Yeah, me and you are just on totally different wavelengths when it comes to Orlando. I'm just not as high as them on them as you are. I will agree with you that if Orlando gets a top 3 seed and if Paolo Banchero can rise to an MVP caliber player, Jamal Mosley will 100% win the Coach of the Year. I'm not debating that. I just think that is very unlikely. I think there are a handful of teams in the East that I think are as good as Orlando, if not better. And I think it's going to be hard for them to separate themselves from the rest of the pack. As for Adelman, I think the Nuggets can win 65 games this year. And I think they can dethrone Oklahoma City as the back-to-back number 1 seeds in the West. I really do. I'm that high on Denver this year. And again, the narrative is with him. And as for what you said about coaches needing to exceed expectations, I agree with that 100%. However, the Cavs still would have exceeded expectations last year if they were the 3 or 4 seed, and I don't think Atkinson would have won Coach of the Year. I think the fact that they got a top 2 seed and the fact that they were so dominant in the regular season is the reason behind that, not necessarily because they smashed expectations. I think a lot of voters look at the standings and they look at what coach has put his team in a position to win, regardless of what we thought about them at this point in the season. You still got to go out there and win games, regardless of what your expectations are today, and that's why I'm taking Adelman.
I mean, to an extent, yeah, but that's not always the case. Look at Mike Brown when he won the award with the Kings. The Kings weren't no world beaters or championship contenders. They finished below 50 wins. They were first-round playoff exits. But Mike Brown still won Coach of the Year, right? The Kings weren't no world beaters or dynasty. They didn't have home court advantage, but they exceeded expectations. They broke that playoff drought, and that helped Brown win that Coach of the Year. It's the expectations of the team carry a lot into the Coach of the Year race. You're not going to see Mark Daigneault get many Coach of the Year votes because, well, his team is expected to be good. And if they're not good, that's a knock on him. And if they are good, well, he's doing what he's supposed to do.
Yeah, I just think this kind of goes on my theory behind the MVP is the same handful of players should win the MVP every year. Like, there's only 2 or 3 guys that can win it every year, and yet every year they just pick a different dude out of the hat. And I don't understand why. The best are still the best, regardless of what the media thinks about them, right? And I think that needs to go into the voters' minds when they vote for these awards. Like, who is the best coach? Well, maybe his team's the best because he's the best coach, not because he was out there twiddling his thumbs last season rebuilding, and now he's able to take a team from the 10 seed to the 3 seed. Oh, good job. Like, the teams that are consistently at the top should be consistently rewarded for their performance. That's kind of my opinion.
Well, yeah, they should be, but unfortunately, that's not how it works out. Narratives do play a role in these NBA awards. If we were voting on the best coach of the year for the Coach of the Year award, Eric Spoelstra and Greg Popovich will be 5-time winners each. Mm-hmm. They've been the best coaches of the last 15, 20 years of the NBA. I think Popovich has only won 1 Coach of the Year in his entire storied career. And Spoelstra, I think he's also only won 1. Right? These are the 2 best coaches of our generation. We're not just voting for the best coach, right? We're voting for the coach that takes his team farther than anybody thought they would. I think that's kind of the trend that I'm seeing looking at the most recent winners.
Yeah, I think that's a fair trend that and a pattern that you're seeing. I just disagree that's why my prediction.
It shouldn't be like that. I agree. I mean, Popovich should have 5 Coach of the Year. Spoelstra should be a multiple time Coach of the Year award winner. But that's just not how it works, unfortunately.
I also am of the belief that playoffs should totally go into the voting for these awards that don't come out till after the finals, because like you said with Mike Brown, woohoo, you got the 3rd seed in the West one year, but then you lost in the first round. Like, not saying he didn't deserve Coach of the Year, but like some other coaches, like I think about Miami and the years that Jimmy Butler took them to the finals. You can't tell me Spoelstra didn't have a part in that.
Yeah.
Like, you can't tell me that 2-month run of 4 rounds of the playoffs is more significant than anything that happened the first 6 months of the season. So I'm also of that belief that these awards should be regular season plus playoffs. I'm not saying just throw the regular season away, because the regular season is important, but it needs to be a good mix of both, which obviously that's not happening anytime soon, I don't think. But yeah, I kind of just made these picks based on my philosophy, and my philosophy is the best coaches on the best teams that perform year in and year out should win Coach of the Year. And if Adelman can dethrone Oklahoma City, as the best team in the West record-wise, I think that would be considered exceeding expectations, because I think you talk to a lot of experts and a lot of people about the NBA this year, and they're slotting Oklahoma City in at 1 in the West. And rightfully so. I mean, they're the defending champions. So if Denver's able to have a better record than them throughout the regular season, I would consider that exceeding expectations.
Yeah, that's fair. It's just a matter of whether Denver will or not. You expect them to. I don't expect them to. That's just what played into our picks. But I mean, yeah, it's a good point. If Denver is able to dethrone Oklahoma City, I do think David Adelman will be in contention for the award at the end of the year. But enough about the coaches. Let's get on to the players, because we got 3 awards left. Are, in my opinion, the 3 biggest awards of the year. And we'll start off with the first-year players and picking our rookies of the year. And this year, it's seemingly Cooper Flagg versus the field. So, Max, do you have Flagg or do you have the field?
I have Flagg. And for people who listen to this show every week, I've been very high on Dallas as a whole, talking about the potential of the big 3. And I think Cooper Flagg is a huge part of that. Again, I'm not worried about his offense, because his coaches are going to put him in positions to hit shots, and some nights they'll go in and some nights they don't. What I think separates this kid from the rest of the field is what he does on defense. I think that in 2 to 3 years' time, he will be a candidate for Defensive Player of the Year every year, similar to how Wembanyama and Mobley and Giannis have kind of entered that every year. You guys are contenders for Defensive Player of the Year. I think you give Flagg 2 or 3 years, and he will insert himself into that group as well. The amount of block shots this kid's going to have is going to be insane. His rebounding numbers are going to be insane. His instincts on defense are really what separate him from everyone else, because I think there are some guards and even some forwards in this draft class that may be better than Flagg offensively from a pure talent and skill perspective. But Flagg's instincts on both sides of the court, really, but is specifically defense, are what separates him, and I think that will propel him to Rookie of the Year. And, of course, that he's the number 1 overall pick. The narrative and the media is going to be behind Cooper Flagg to win this award. If he's healthy for 82 games and even doesn't meet our expectations, I still think he wins Rookie of the Year, simply because of where he was drafted, where he played college basketball at, and the expectations coming into the season. So my pick for Rookie of the Year is Flagg against the field, which is kind of chalky, but that's just what I think is going to happen.
Hey, there's a reason Flagg is a favorite. That's not a bad take at all, and one that I can't really disagree with. Flagg is going to immediately be one of the better two-way players in the league, but he is not head and shoulders the best two-way player in the class. He is the best, but it's close. It's closer than you think, because there's a guard on the Philadelphia Sixers named VJ Edgecombe who has that absolute dog in him, right? he is my Rookie of the Year pick. Now, Edgecombe is going to be in a similar situation to Flag in that neither of them are going to be the number one option offensively on either of their team. Arguably, neither of them will be the number two option offensively on their teams. But I do think Edgecombe will receive more ball handling opportunities. I think right now he is a more complete offensive player than Flag. Flag's offensive game, while very strong, is still raw. So I don't think he's going to have as many days on the Dallas where he is the primary scoring option when they have Anthony Davis they can lean on in the front court. Edgecombe, in his one Summer League performance, put up 28 points and looked not only explosive, but like a dominant two-way force. I mean, he was locking down, granted, it was Summer League, but he was locking down whoever he was matched up against and scoring in transition at will. If the Sixers can regain their playoff status this year, I think that'll only help Edgecombe in his case for the award. It's really a gut feeling because it's so hard to justify Edgecombe over a generational talent like Flag. I just think Edgecombe is going to have more opportunities on the Sixers that Flag is on the Mavericks, and he is going to make very good use of those opportunities.
Interesting. Quick question: is his role at all concerning, seeing as that he's behind McCain and Maxey, whereas Cooper Flag is kind of penciled in already as a day one starter for the Dallas Mavericks? Do you think that could play a role in this award?
Yes, but I truthfully only think it's a matter of time before Edgecombe is a starter. I think he is better than McCain, and I think that within 2 years, he will be better than Tyrese Maxey. I am so high on VJ Edgecombe. I think he's a future All-NBA player. I see a lot of Anthony Edwards in him. I am all aboard the VJ Edgecombe hype train. And yes, he might start on the bench for the first couple weeks of his career, but he is so uber talented and so explosive. His only question mark about his game is his outside shot. If he can get that to go, Edgecombe has the tools necessary to be a year in, year out All-NBA player.
I can hear you on him being better than McCain, who started last year red hot, by the way, and was on pace to win this award last year if he didn't get hurt. But I cannot hear that he's going to be better than Tyrese Maxey.
Okay, he's not going to be better than Tyrese Maxey this year. Give him 2 years. I think he will be.
How good do you think Tyrese Maxey is going to be in 2 years? He hasn't even hit his prime yet either. Like, Tyrese Maxey is still getting better too. So I don't know how VJ Edgecombe will be better.
Yes, but looking at the physical tool, Maxey is a great shooter, quick with the ball, but Edgecombe is explosive, man. This guy will dunk over your favorite player. He did it in college. He has a highlight reel of posters in his freshman season, his one and done season at Baylor. It's tough to justify, but Edgecombe, his interview after the draft, how he carried himself in the summer league, I am so high on the kid. I think he has an incredibly bright future, and I think he just has a mentality that a lot of NBA players that are coming into the league today lack.
I would agree with that. His mentality is definitely where it needs to be at the top of his game. The kid, like you said, is a dog. But I need to see it first before. And I think the coaching staff in Philadelphia, I think they trust McCain and Maxey more, which is another reason why I think it's going to be hard to get the ball rolling, so to speak, on the VJ Edgecombe Rookie of the Year train. But hey, I think he has a very good chance to win the award if it's not Flag. I think he's probably the second best option. I like him better than Dylan Harper this year. I like him better than Ace Bailey this year, and a couple of the other guys that were drafted. But the gap that you were mentioning that you think is close, I don't think it's that close between Cooper Flag and the field right now. But only time will tell, and we will see.
Yeah, one thing about the Rookie of the Year vote is that, much like Sixth Man of the Year, offensive stats matter, right? A player who averages 10 points a game and is solid on defense is not going to win the award over a player who averages 15 points a game and is a net negative on defense. Well, now, whether that's correct or not is up for interpretation. But historically, much like the Sixth Man of the Year, that is how the award has been judged. Offensive players will win the award over defensive players. And Right now, I think Edgecombe's offensive game is more polished than Flag's.
Okay, that's a fair take. But I'm not arguing that Flag's going to be good at defense. I'm arguing that he's going to be great at defense, and he's going to be a literal game changer on defense. And I think that, yes, you have to be better than just good on defense and average 10 points. But I think this kid is going to be truly special on defense. And if you told me in 6 months that Cooper Flagg was leading the league in like blocks per game, I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised.
Over Wemby? Over Wemby? No,
yes.
And Wemby is leading the league in blocks for the next 20 plus years.
Yes, I know.
No,
yes, but what happens if he gets hurt in a month? That fragile ass giraffe. What happens if he gets hurt in a month? In 6 months, if you told me Cooper Flagg was leading the league in blocks, I would not be surprised. I'm not saying he's going to. I'm just saying that if you told me that, I would be sitting here today telling you that I am not shocked. That it doesn't.
Fair enough.
He has the potential.
I would be completely shocked.
Yes, Wembanyama obviously should lead the league in blocks. Giannis should have more blocks. Mobley, all these guys. But Flagg is going to be that good at defense. I'm telling you, he is a game changer on defense. We saw it at Duke, and we're going to see it in the NBA.
I just think it's going to take at least a year for Flagg to acclimate to the NBA speed. We don't really see rookies come into the league and be able to make an immediate defensive impact. Now, Flagg is no ordinary rookie. That much is known. But the defensive gap between college level and the NBA level is such a large jump to make, and oftentimes takes players multiple years to figure out and understand. And I'm not saying it'll take Flagg until year 5 to be a great defender. He'll enter the league as an above-average defender. In terms of leading the league in blocks, being a D-point candidate, I think that is a year or two down the road.
Yeah. As far as the jump for college and NBA, this is the same kid that left high school early to go play at the most popular and most well-known college basketball program in Duke. So I think this kid, he is not in over his head. He knows what he's doing. There's a reason he was the clear-cut number 1 pick, and I think there's also a reason why he's the clear-cut favorite for this award.
All right. We'll move on from Rookie of the Year and get on to our second-to-last award, the Defensive Player of the Year award. And truthfully, I think we're going to have barring injury, I think we're going to have the same prediction for this.
Interesting.
So I'll let you take it away, but I think you're going to say.
All right,
I don't know, maybe you'll surprise me.
All right, so this is I kind of alluded to this earlier in the episode where Alex had mentioned a player, and I said that I'll get to him later, and that's where I'm picking Amen Thompson.
You are surprising me. Wow.
To win Defensive Player of the Year. This was a switch pick. I was not going to pick him until Fred VanVleet tore his ACL. I think this kid's going to play point guard, which in my mind means he's going to guard point guards. And we talked about when we did the top 5 episode and the Mount Rushmore episode that we think that the point guard is probably the most skillful position in the game today, with just the amount of guards that are good outweighs the number of bigs that are good at the elite level. And I think we were pretty much on agreement in that in previous episodes. And I truly think that if Amen Thompson can give Steph, and he can give Shea, and he can give Luka, and he can give Brunson, and he can give Trae Young, and he can give all these guards that are talked about as team leaders and best players on teams, if he can give them hell for 82 games, it's going to be hard to not give this kid the award. And I know he's not going to have the block shots and the rebounds that some of these other guys are, simply because he's not as tall as them. But I think about the year that Marcus Smart won Defensive Player of the Year, and I think that Amen Thompson could be in line for that type of season this year. He is going to be a pest. He's going to be annoying. And Amen Thompson is my pick to win Defensive Player of the Year. This was a switch. I had somebody else, but I switched to Amen Thompson because I think his role will be increased. I think he will be guarding the other team's best player night in and night out, unless they're like a 7-footer. He will be guarding their best player night in and night out. And like you said, you think he's going to win Most Improved. So, I mean, if he wins Most Improved, I'm banking on his defense getting better too. Give me Amen Thompson to win Defensive Player of the Year.
You really did surprise me there. And this is coming from someone who is also high on Amen Thompson. I mean, I have him winning Most Improved Player Thompson already is an elite defender, and even for his size, he's a great rebounder, both offensively and defensively. An elite rebounder. But how are you picking Amen Thompson over the 7'4" demigod that makes other NBA players look like me playing my dad when I was in elementary school? You have players who have a wide open fast break layup who are passing it out or dribbling it out of the paint because they are so fearful of Victor Wembanyama coming out of nowhere and swatting that shot. We have not seen a player with the defensive impact that Victor Wembanyama has in games ever. I'm not saying Wemby is the greatest defensive player of all time. He's going to need some. He's not quite there yet. He's only going into year 3. But in terms of his impact, defensively, there is not a player in NBA history that affects that side of the ball more than Victor Wembanyama.
NBA history? Bro just said NBA history.
Yes, I do not think that's that hard of a take. Wemby on the defensive side of the ball is the most impactful player in NBA history. What other NBA player do you see making other players who are the best in the world at the sport that they play, pass up wide open layups? I mean, that is how I was playing against my dad when I was 4'2", right? I was passing up open layups because I couldn't get it up over him just because he was taller than me. That is what Wembanyama is doing to other players. It is.
Do you really want me to answer that question? Because I will. I have a guy in mind. I have a guy in mind. Are you ready?
Yeah, I do.
Are you ready? Glaze for glaze right here.
Draymond Green. Don't say Draymond Green. Do not say Draymond Green.
LeBron James. When you see LeBron coming for a chase down block, do you not think players are in their head about what's happening behind them?
Yeah. Yes. Chase down blocks. Yes, LeBron is an all-time great at that. But when in a half-court offense, in a non-transition setting, LeBron is not impacting the defensive side of the ball.
Not now. No.
Wemby
That's not what I'm saying.
Every single defensive
That's
possession
not what I'm saying.
Wemby is on the court, the offense needs to know where he is at all times because he will come out of nowhere. If he could be in the paint and you could be in the corner. Doesn't matter. That space will be closed if the corner player gets the ball. There is not a player in the NBA that can do that. Maybe Giannis. Maybe. And I'm a huge Giannis fan. But I don't think Giannis can do what Wembanyama does on the defensive side of the ball. And I cannot believe.
Your question was, is there another player in the league that makes you contemplate not taking a fast break layup? LeBron James in his prime, who currently still plays, I'm not saying this now, he made players think and possibly pass up fast break layups. That is a fact. Like, LeBron James made people do that.
It is a fact.
I'm not saying that
depoys.
LeBron could have won a couple depoys. He could have.
Yes, he should have. But you don't win depoys for chase down blocks. Look at the half-court offense, the offensive run, when they have Wemby on the floor. They will not get anywhere near the paint because Wemby will shut down every center. It's just because he's longer. What are you supposed to do against that? He can dunk while standing straight. He doesn't even need to jump. How can you finish in the paint over a guy like that? Oh, it doesn't matter. So you want to play over the perimeter? Doesn't matter. You kick it out to the guy in the corner on the wing. Wemby has that space closed out instantly. Okay, you're not getting a shot up over a 7'4" demigod unless you're somebody like Steph Curry or LeBron James, and when they do have those, they're fucking highlights, right? They're big time moments when you shoot a shot and make it over Wembanyama. That's a big time highlight for a player. And so we're looking at half-court offense. Wemby is already impacting the all in every single possession. You look at transition. Wemby impacts every single transition opportunity. There is, just in 2 years, a year and a half even, there is not a player in NBA history that has changed the game on defense more than Wembanyama has.
Okay, maybe change the game, sure, but I was going to ask you a question. In their prime, okay, and Wemby hasn't even hit his prime yet, so this is a tough question. Who's the better defender? Victor Wembanyama or Anthony Davis?
Give me Wemby. Give me Wemby right now over prime AD.
On defense.
On defense. Offensively, no. Give me prime AD over current Wemby offensively. But on the
defensively.
Yes, defensively, give me current Wemby over Prime Davis.
Interesting. What about Joel Embiid at his prime defensively?
Defensive. If I'm picking Wemby over Anthony Davis, I'm sure as hell not picking Embiid over Wemby. I mean, I would pick Davis over Embiid, right?
Joel Embiid was an elite defender before all his
Yes,
knee
he's an
injuries.
elite
He was an
defender.
elite defender, like elite
yes,
defender.
Absolutely. I'm not. Yes, elite defender. But Embiid at his defensive peak was no Anthony Davis, and Anthony Davis at his peak was no Wembanyama.
That's crazy. They're the I think they're the same
There's
at
only
their
so
peaks.
much you can do against a 7'4" demigod with an eternal wingspan. Like, if we're talking skill and IQ, yes, Davis and Embiid might be over Wembanyama. But the physical tools that Wembanyama has just makes his impact so well known.
Physical tools
You feel it.
is strength not a physical tool?
Yeah. Yes, that is a physical tool. But Anthony Davis and Embiid are 7-footers. Again, super tall, but that's normal for an NBA center. Wemby is 7'4" with a 9'8" wingspan. 9'8". Are we not talking
Yeah, his
about how
wingspan
crazy
is crazy.
9'10" with my arms straight up, and he's still taller than me.
Yes, his wingspan is nuts. I'm not disputing that. But to say he's the best, not the best, he changed the game more than any defender of all time. If he was in the Shaq era, he would be injured through 1/4 of basketball. This guy is not that good of a defender. Shaq would bully him. He would bully him. His wingspan wouldn't matter when he's laying on the ground. His wingspan would not matter when he's laying on the ground.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Shaq would not bully Wembanyama. Giannis, the modern day Shaquille O'Neal, was bullied by Wembanyama when trying to drive on him.
The Giannis
I am
glaze
a
is
huge-
crazy.
do you not
Giannis is
remember the
nothing
icon-
like Shaq. Giannis is nothing like Shaq.
Yeah.
Hell no.
Okay. Have you not heard people compare Giannis to the modern day Shaq? Like that?
No.
Yeah, I'm not.
I've heard people compare Giannis to LeBron. I've heard him compare him to LeBron with his downhill nature and transition
Okay, yeah,
with the ball in his hand. He's not backing down people like Shaq was. Let's stop that. He was not doing that.
Okay. No. Giannis is compared to Shaq in that the two are the most physically dominant players of their era. Shaq dominated the game because of his physicality, and Giannis is doing the same. That is where the comparison.
LeBron is the most physically
that's where the
dominant
comparison
player
comes
of this era, not Giannis. But that's a debate for another day. But I think LeBron is the most physically dominant player of this era.
Okay, fair. Giannis, one of the most physically dominant players of this era, one of the strongest players in this era, was still dominated by Wembanyama in the paint. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Wemby isn't strong, but there's only so much bumping you can do into somebody. Eventually, you're gonna have to turn around, rise up, and shoot. And what are you gonna do against a player whose wingspan is over the rim?
Pump fake?
Shaq would not. Wemby doesn't jump, dude. Have you not watched him play defense? He doesn't jump to block shots because he doesn't need to. When he's in the paint, he is flat rooted on the ground and still averaging.
He
4
jumps.
blocks a
Stop
game.
that. Stop that. He jumps. He does
He
not just
jumps
go
to-
like
he jumps
this
to contest
and do
jump
that.
shots. He jumps
just-
to contest when he is in the paint. Yes, he
No,
does.
no, he
I'm
does
telling
not.
you. Watch players drive on Wembanyama. Watch players try to post him up.
He might
does
not-
jump when he is blocking shots in the paint.
You're telling me that
I am telling you.
he blocks shots with 2 feet on the ground. He just sticks his hand up
Yes.
and blocks shot. There's no way. There's no way he
you-
doesn't
you wanna
jump.
hey, when we conclude the episode, I will send you clip after clip after clip of Wembanyama.
I'll look him up
Because,
right
like,
now.
It is
I'll look him up after the
it is
episode.
unfathomable. Okay, we've gone on a bit of a tangent there. Let's get back to our awards picks. You have Amon Thompson winning Depoy. I have Wemby.
That
We
Wemby
can move on.
Glaze
We can
is
move on.
crazy. That Wemby Glaze is crazy. He didn't even win it last year, by the
you
way.
might not.
Mobley won it last year. What's the difference between Mobley and
Because he
Wembanyama? What's the difference?
Wembanyama was not only going to win it before his injury, he was at minus 5,000 odds or so to win it. He was the favorite among all favorites. This is, I don't know, prime Floyd Mayweather boxing Jake Paul odds, right? Minus 5,000 favorite. Wemby was the consensus clear and away, no second questions favorite to win the Depoy before his blood clot injury. That injury is the sole one and only reason that prevented Wemby from winning the award. As a rookie, he was second in the award, and many people, including myself, thought he should have had it over Rudy Gobert. He was by far the consensus favorite in his second year before his injury. In his third year, I don't think there is anybody in the league, maybe an injury. An injury is the only thing that can stop Wembanyama from taking home the DPOY this year, and I will stand on that.
All right. I'll let you stand on it because we've been debating it for 15 minutes. But we should move on to the final award, and that is the MVP. I doubt we agree on this one, seeing as that we haven't agreed on any of the other ones. Alex, who do you have taking the most prestigious award in the NBA?
Well, there's about 5 or 6 players you could choose from for this award, right? I mean, all 3 of the finalists last year should be in it: Jokic, Shea, and Giannis. Giannis, especially, is an option considering that he is going to be the focal point of the Bucks offense, and everything is going to run through Giannis. He should only have more touches as he goes. Luka Doncic, also, with his offseason narratives, his getting into shape, having a full offseason in LA, I very much think he could take home from the award, is what I would say if I thought Luka was winning the award. But I don't. I think Victor Wembanyama will win the MVP. And yes, and I know you don't like that, okay? I know you don't like that. But let's look at precedent. You don't need to be the number 1 seed to win MVP, right? We saw Russell Westbrook do it in 2016. We saw Jokic do it for his first MVP in 2021. It's not a given that your team needs to be the top in its conference to win MVP, right? You do have to have home court advantage, presumably. I mean, Russ and Jokic won it as 6 seeds, but you would like your MVP to have home court advantage, and I do foresee a big jump from the Spurs this year. We will get into that in our Western Conference predictions. But Wembanyama's age might also come into play. Victor Wembanyama right now is 21 years old. He will be 22 years old and 6 months. The same age that Derrick Rose was when he won his MVP and set the mark for the youngest ever NBA MVP. I think Wembanyama will match that.
You've gone too far. I can understand you arguing about Wembanyama for Defensive Player of the Year. I can understand that because he is the favorite year in and year out. I can understand
consensus.
I can understand that argument. But to say he's going to be the MVP, to say he's going to be the best player in the league that season is outrageous.
I think Wemby will be the best player. I think he will establish himself as the best two-way player in the league this season. He's already the best defensive player in the league. I think by the end of the year, he'll be a top 5 offensive player in the league.
All right, so from game 1 to game 82, you think Wembanyama will be better than Jokic, Shea, Luka, Steph, Brunson, LeBron, KD, Giannis, Jaylen Brown?
Yeah.
You think he's going to be better than all of them?
You're acting like this is absolutely crazy, but Derrick Rose won the MVP in his age 22 year, right? This isn't unprecedented. We've seen a third-year player take home the award before, right? If I had said this last year, if I had said year 2 Wemby is going to win MVP, yeah, that would be a little bit outrageous. But there is precedent for a player of Wemby's talent to take home the award. Now, I don't think the Spurs will be the 1 seed, and I don't think Wemby will be leading the league in scoring. But when you look at the improved Spurs team, who I do expect to get home court advantage in the first round, and you look at the impact Wemby has offensively and defensively, I think he will emerge as the MVP at the end of the year.
All right.
I told you I had a hot take for this. I don't even think this is that much of a hot take.
All right, I'm going to get into we'll talk about predictions later because I don't want to talk about the Spurs too much. And I'll get into my MVP pick. And I really actually appreciate you picking Wemby because that makes my case better. I don't know how you could pick Wemby to win the MVP when he's not even the best player at his own position. And that's why I'm going with Jokic to win his 4th MVP. And I don't care about voter fatigue. I don't care about any of that. We got that out of our system last year with Shea. Jokic last year had the best year of his career, and I will stand on that. And I think that this year, when the Nuggets are a top 2 seed in the West and compete with Oklahoma City for that top spot in the West, I think Jokic, it's hard to say that he's underrated because they rate him as the best player in the league, which he is. But for some reason, people do not understand the greatness of this man. This was a guy that was this was a guy that was on your Mount Rushmore of centers.
Yeah, I was about to say, hold on, you're saying all this, but you cannot understand why I had him as a top 4 center of all time?
Okay, but I'm not comparing him to the greats. I'm comparing him to Victor Wembanyama right now. It's a completely different argument.
Would you say Nikola Jokic was still the best center in the league when Joel Embiid won MVP?
Yes.
So what? So why are you saying it's so outlandish for me to pick Wemby if he's not the best in his position when we've seen it before? It's
because Wemby is nowhere as close to how good Joel Embiid was that season. Nowhere close.
Oh my God! Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
No shot. Embiid was averaging 32. He was averaging 32 and playing good defense.
He's going to average 27 points, 10 rebounds, and at least 3.5 blocks a game. You're saying
I don't think Wemby is half the player Joel Embiid is on offense. There is no way you think that Wemby is that good on offense to constitute the MVP. Yes. That is absurd. Joel Embiid was amazing that season.
He's not going to have the offensive bag of Embiid, but you see, he gets 4 or 5 buckets a game just from players lobbing it anywhere near the basket, and he'll catch it.
So does Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert catches 5 lobs a game. He catches 5 lobs a game.
Rudy Gobert doesn't average 10 points a game. How can he catch 5 lobs a game?
Rudy Gobert averages 10 points a game. Stop that. That's hate. That's just hate. Right. Rudy Gobert is clumsy, and he is not as good as people think he is. But he catches lobs. That's all he does. What about Jared Allen? That's all he does is catch lobs. What's the difference? I'm not giving Wemby credit for being tall and have a long wingspan. That's terrible.
You're catching lobs from Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, 2 premier playmakers at the guard positions.
What does that matter?
From Devin Vassell, Jeremy Sochan, and Keldon Johnson. You know why it matters? Because now they have De'Aaron Fox, a premier point guard. Can you imagine how good that pairing is going to be? Fox and Wemby. It is going to be disgusting.
Yeah, and it's real convenient that you just forgot to mention the Rookie of the Year, Stephon Castle, who he was catching lobs from last year. All right, so don't act like his roster's trash. For half the season last year, he played with Fox and Stephon Castle. I don't want to hear crap about that.
What? He played 1 singular game with De'Aaron Fox, for the record. 1 game with De'Aaron Fox. And Stephon Castle, last year, as you were saying, Jared McCain was going to win Rookie of the Year. The draft class last year was weak. Stephon Castle was good. He was the best player in his draft class, but it's not like Castle was some all-time great rookie. Right? He was an average rookie. He would not.
But it doesn't take an all-star. You're proving my point that it doesn't take an all-star to throw a tall dude lobs. It doesn't take a star player to throw lobs like Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. So don't hold that against Jared Allen either. I could throw a lob to that dude.
Yeah, yes, you could, because he is so talented. The does not matter where you place the ball. A player like Jared Allen, you're gonna have to put it in his catch.
Considering height and wingspan as talent is absolutely absurd. Considering height and wingspan as talent is absurd. That is absurd.
It's athleticism. It's not talent. It's athleticism. Okay. Athleticism is talent.
Sure, I guess, but that's no. Jokic, with all the lack of athleticism that he has, he is still the best player in the league, and he's going to win his 4th MVP this year.
Jokic, first of all, is a very underrated athlete. His conditioning is among the best in the NBA. That is a part of athleticism. This man, Jokic, never gets tired on the court. That's a part of athleticism, and it makes Jokic one of the more athletic players in the NBA. He'll never ask for a sub because he gets tired, and for that to be your star player is incredible.
Yeah, but I'm not saying... But I said his lack of athleticism. I'm not saying that Jokic's stamina is going to help him win the MVP. His skill, his IQ, and his overall dominance is what's going to win him the MVP. Not because he can run more suicides than the other centers in the league. That's not what I'm arguing here.
Here's what got me off Jokic. I'm going to explain this because I think this is something you'll understand. Jokic last year, yes, he had the best year of his career. Completely agree with you there. I think, personally, he should have won MVP last year. Unfortunately, he didn't. That is how it goes. Jokic last year also played the most minutes per game of his career. right? And it's because the Nuggets backup center position last year was a giant question mark. You had washed DeAndre Jordan or Zeke Naji taking the non-Jokic minutes. It made it very uncomfortable for the Denver Nuggets to play basketball without Jokic on the floor. So they're going to play him as much as he's physically capable of doing. This year, they signed Jonas Valanciunas, a huge offseason acquisition that gives Denver a reliable double-double threat off the bench. Because of that, I think they're going to be okay not playing Jokic 36, 38, 40 minutes a game. I think they're going to want to make sure that Jokic instead is healthy and okay for the playoff run that Denver expects to have.
I think he will get less minutes by a couple, but I think having Valanciunas is only going to make Jokic better because he's going to have more energy when he's on the court. I mean, that argument about his stamina should only be better getting an extra 3 minutes on the bench. So I think Jokic could be even better having a viable backup center on his team, even if he's getting 2 minutes less per game. He's still going to play 35 minutes a night. They're not taking his minutes away and giving them to Jonas Valanciunas. That's not going to happen. I just don't think so.
Okay. The premises on keeping players healthy has been imperative, and it's no more important than with an MVP. I'm going to look at the stats of Giannis Antetokounmpo, not just because he's my favorite player, but he's a multiple-time MVP award winner, and I know as a Bucks fan that his minutes per game drastically decreased the year after his second MVP. I'm trying to find this. Yeah, here we go. So his MVP season in 2020-2021, he averaged 33 minutes per game. The following year, he averaged 32.9. After that, it dropped down to 30.4. It's because they just want to load manage him. They want to make sure he's healthy for the postseason that they expect to have. It's not because Giannis is tired or because they have someone better off the bench. It's just when you have a reliable option on the bench, you're going to use it. You're going to want to protect your star player. I'm not saying Valanciunas is going to play 20, 25 minutes a game and Jokic is instead of Jokic, but you have that backup center now. You're going to make use of it. You're going to give Jokic those long stretches of rest that he wasn't able to get last year. His minutes per game is going to take a hit, and his stats as a result, are going to as well. Yeah, sure, his per 36 or per 48 numbers might be up, but his per game stats are not going to be any better than they were last year. And when you're talking about a 3-time MVP, it's very hard to justify a 4th MVP if he doesn't have that career best year.
He's the best player in the league, and MVP is such a year-by-year award. He just has to be the best player in the league this year. I don't care what he did 3 years ago. If he has the best stats of any player this year, which I anticipate he will again, he should win the MVP. Point blank, period. He should win the MVP.
Yeah, and I just don't think I think Wembanyama will have better stats than Nikola Jokic will this year.
You need a Wemby jersey. You have one? You need one. And you need to wear it to school every day. You need one. You just talked about Wemby for 30 minutes, about how he's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Yeah, I do. And when he wins MVP, I'll talk about him for another 30 minutes.
I'm rooting for you.
Advantage in the playoffs, I'll talk about him again.
Because it's all hell. All hell will be unloaded onto you by me if he doesn't win the MVP. You will be hearing it. I will be kicking you while you're down. Yeah. I will be kicking you while you're down. When this guy averages a measly 21 points per game.
How confident you are right now that he won't when he does. I'll remind you, because we have never seen a talent as generational as Wemby. It is his time. Okay. This is his era.
Stop.
And he is going to make
This is such recency bias saying a talent. I'm not talking about Wemby anymore. Nope. No. I'm done. Let's get to the blind ranking before I lose my shit even more.
Yeah, how mad are you going to be when Wembanyama's on this blind ranking?
He might go 10 out of spite. He might go 10.
All right. Well, if you couldn't tell by now, Max is in charge of this edition's blind rankings. I have 10 NBA players. This time we themed it after former award winners. So this includes former MVPs, former Rookie of the Years, former Sixth-Mans, whatever. The one common thing that all these players have is that they were award winners at some point in their careers. All current players, by the way. All players currently playing in the NBA. So, Max, you ready to get us started?
Yeah, I'm anticipating this list to be better. So this is going to be tough. I think that it's going to be very very loaded with talent. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes.
We there are no randos on this list, so much unlike your previous blind ranking. These are all relevant players in the NBA, so all players that you will know. We'll start the list off by our first player, four-time Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert.
Oh, wow. Okay, so Rudy Gobert at his prime, just as good as defender as Wemby. Take that, Alex.
No, he's not.
Um,
That's a crazy take. Absurd take. Absurd take.
Rudy Gobert at his prime, all-star. Wembanyama at his prime, all-star. Getting cooked by Kyrie in the All-Star game. Gobert getting cooked by Steph.
Are you calling year two Wemby his prime? No, we're not talking about Wemby anymore. Well,
See?
first of all, you just call
No,
year
no,
two
no,
Wemby
no.
his
This is
prime.
my
Get
blind
out of
ranking. This is my blind ranking. I can talk about my players how I want. With that being said, my four-time Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert, will go at 8. I think his offensive talents
Rudy
will set him.
Gobert at 8?
Yeah, I think his offensive talents will set him aside here. But I think we can get two players that I can justify being worse than a four-time Defensive Player of the Year.
Second player on the list, and we are starting this list off with a bang because we have two-time MVP, one-time DPOY, one-time Most Improved Player, Giannis Antetokounmpo.
I mean, he's top 2 on this list. I don't know if I'm going to get someone better than Giannis. I mean, the only guys I can think of currently that I would take over him are Steph, Jokic, Shea, maybe. I'm putting Giannis 1. I mean, I think it's very unlikely that I get somebody better than him, especially with all those accolades you just named. I'm putting Giannis at 1.
All right. Giannis at number 1. All right. Our third player, we have former Rookie of the Year, Chris Paul.
Oh, that's a great one. Is that the only award he's ever won?
Yeah, never won an NBA, never won a DPOY, no Most Improved, but he is a Rookie of the Year.
Wow. Chris Paul, one of the more underrated guards of all time. That's tough. He's definitely better than Rudy Gobert. But how much better? I'm putting him at 5. I like that for Chris Paul. I think that's good.
Chris Paul at 5. Point guard being slotted in the middle. We'll see how that ages.
Yeah, I'm also banking this list on all time, which is because right now Giannis would not be 1, but with all those accolades, I'd put him there. Chris Paul, I think all time is better than Rudy Gobert. I think.
You're judging the list all time, but putting the point guard at 5. I think that's interesting. You expect a lot. You expect this list to be full of greats.
Yeah, Chris Paul just doesn't have the playoff
but
success that some of these other guys will probably have, but who knows?
Yeah, that's fair. At number 4, we have former Most Improved Player of the Year, Jordan Clarkson.
Ew. He's 10. I think I could walk away
10.
from this. I think I could walk away from this list confidently saying Jordan Clarkson will be the worst player I get. I think I can confidently say that. No slouch on Clarkson. But
Okay.
all time he's not better than Rudy Gobert.
You are immediately going to be choking on your words because our next player is former Rookie of the Year, Ben Simmons.
Oh yeah. Give me Ben Simmons at his prime over Jordan Clarkson every day of the week. Oh, I'm not even kidding.
I think it's a little close. I mean, I would take Simmons too, but
he was an all-star. Jordan Clarkson was never sniffing all-star. Stop. Yeah. Ben Simmons is better than Jordan Clarkson all time. Let's stop that. Is he better than Rudy Gobert? Wait. Is he better than Rudy Gobert? Ooh. Ben Simmons is the biggest meme in the NBA since 2022, but is he better than?
I would personally be very shocked if you take.
I just penciled him in at 9. Yeah, 9. No, go with your gut. 9. I said that kind of subconsciously, but it was between 7 or 9. I'll go 9 because Rudy's probably better than Ben Simmons, but Ben Simmons is definitely better than Jordan Clarkson. I'm not eating any of my words yet.
All right. Halfway through the list, 5 more to go. And our next player, another. Oh wait, sorry. This was a former Rookie of the Year, Malcolm Brogdon.
Ew, I should have put Ben Simmons at 7. Ew, this is gross. 7. He has to. Okay, I take that back. I've now eaten my words. This is the worst player on this list, not Jordan Clarkson. Malcolm Brogdon.
You would take Jordan Clarkson over Malcolm Brogdon? I mean, I'm a Bucks fan, so I think Brogdon's better, but that might be my bias coming in play.
Jordan Clarkson offensively is significantly better than Malcolm Brogdon. And I don't know how good Brogdon was defensively, but no, I'm taking Clarkson all day, every day over him, for sure.
All right, our 7th player is former Defensive Player of the Year, Marcus Smart.
6. Okay, I think I ranked Chris Paul a little too low, as well as Rudy Gobert. I think I ranked them both a little too low. But Marcus Smart is better than Malcolm Brogdon and Jordan Clarkson, not Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons should be top 7 on this list, no doubt in my mind.
You have spots 2, 3, and 4 left.
Yeah, this
so
is
you're
bad.
hoping for a heavy back end.
This is bad, but it's award winners. I mean, these guys should be good.
Player.
So,
former Clutch Player of the Year, De'Aaron Fox.
yeah, 4. I'm cool with that. No, scratch that. 3. Let's play smart. Let's play the game how it's Let's play the game how it's intended to be played. I don't know. I wish I could switch him and Chris Paul, but I can't. So 3.
All right. Not a bad place. 2 players left at 2 and 4. 9th player on the list. Former Most Improved Player of the Year, Julius Randle.
Shit. He's definitely better than De'Aaron Fox, but I think I'm going to get somebody better than him. So I'm putting him at 4 because I think you could argue that De'Aaron Fox is better than Julius Randle, and I'm banking on this guy being better than both of them. So I'm putting Randle at 4. Hit me with a banger
You have
to finish.
put a lot of marbles onto this
just give me Wemby. Give me Wemby.
Spot.
Come on.
Former MVP, Joel Embiid.
Yes.
That worked out really well for you. Great call putting Randle at the 4 spot.
Putting Embiid at 2 and Giannis at 1 was spectacular. Honestly, the top 5 is really good.
This is not a list I can hate on because we have number 1 Giannis, number 2 Joel Embiid, number 3 De'Aaron Fox, Julius Randle at the 4, Chris Paul at the 5, number 6 Marcus Smart, number 7 Malcolm Brogdon, number 8 Rudy Gobert, number 9 Ben Simmons, number 10 Jordan Clarkson.
The bottom 5 could use some reshuffling.
This is a pretty spot-on list.
It's honestly spectacular. Like
my only critique is that Gobert should have been higher, but I mean we're talking about Rudy Gobert, right? I'm not going to throw a hissy fit over Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, I would move Gobert up to 6, and I would move Chris Paul where De'Aaron Fox is. That's really all I would do.
Yeah. Overall, hell of a blind rankings. Hell of a job.
Yeah, thank you. I'm proud of myself on that one.
And that'll wrap up this episode of the Hoopers Lounge. Comment your own NBA award predictions, whether or not you disagree with me and Bax. Comment if you think Wemby will be an MVP this year, because that will be a hot conversation topic as the season goes on, I'm sure. And we look forward to seeing you in the next episode, where I'm sure we'll be taking on our conference predictions and previewing the playoff teams.
Yeah, I'll yell at Alex some more about the Spurs in that episode, for sure.
Oh, you will. I promise you, you will. You're not going to be happy about that. But we'll see you on our next episode. Peace out.
Peace.